Peter Belden. Super, super amazing guy. I love people that give back to the community. We love talking about paying it forward. We love talking about mentorship. But obviously, anyone who lives in Orange County is familiar with the surf culture. Obviously, Orange County is one of those beacons among other major pillars in America. You know, from Hawaii to certain like places. But like, there's something special about Orange County naturally. You might have seen earlier a good friend of Peter's and someone we've had on the show, Tim Burnham, who was the director of the Ben Carlson documentary, an amazing documentary. Actually, Tim had recommended at a social outing, you need to interview Peter. And as I got to talk to Peter, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I found out we have a connection because of Newport Beach Foundation, which both him and I are involved with. And anyone who goes to the peninsula has seen the board club. It's by one of my favorite spots, Alta, and it's by a course. It's, what am I thinking? The taco spot.
Wild Taco.
Wild Taco, one of my favorite spots. I just had a food coma slip, I guess, thinking about Alta because I love their breakfast. But all seriousness, we're gonna jam. We're gonna talk about what Peter is doing and why he decided to create this. So thanks for being on, brother.
Yeah, it's stoked to be here. Thanks, Ash.
Tell us the early board club, pre-board club Peter. Like, what were you like, and specifically, what inspired you to say, I need to create board club?
Yeah, good question. So, I'm water baby my whole life. Been a junior lifeguard since I was 9. Newport Beach lifeguard for 21 years, still active. You know, it's been a long time. Played water polo at UCLA, so it's been in my blood. And it's, you know, after UCLA, it was, you know, you get into professional work, and sometimes your hobbies and passions can suffer for that sometimes. And, you know, for 10 years, I was basically chasing career advancement and money and real estate and tech software sales and all these things. And, yeah, it was, you know, it was a good run, but, you know, I needed to look at doing something more fulfilling.
Okay, so what moment were you at, whether it's in the office or maybe you're doing a surf sesh or doing something else that said, I need to take the initiative and do the board club? I might have been thinking about it, but I was like, hey, I gotta do this.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things. You graduate, you know, I was one of those guys, didn't know what I wanted to do for 10 years, was chasing those wrong things. And you know what? It was Ben Carlson. Those of you who are not familiar, Ash just mentioned, you know, Tim did a movie about it, but he was a Newport Beach lifeguard that drowned on a rescue, and he was arguably the best in the department. He was an absolute stud. He'd go charge big waves, spear fisherman, best lifeguard. So that one really hit me hard. That made me realize, you know, what am I doing? You know, for the last 10 years, I'm chasing the wrong things and I'm unhappy. You know, why? And so it was that aha moment where I just said, you know what, there's more to this. So within 2 days, I put in my 2-week notice. So I quit my job, sold my car, put everything into storage, and said, I'm not coming home till I figure out what I really want to do and what's going to be, you know, more fulfilling in my life. And I did 2 months in Indonesia, backpack, 3 surfboards and a scooter, bounced around from Bali to Lombok to Sumbawa, surfing all over the place. And then lived in a van in Australia for 6 months. And that was really like, you know what that was? That was me trying to just figure out what else is out there. You know, when you leave a job, and, you know, something significant happens in your life, you know, like a lot of times you kind of have tunnel vision on what's available and what you can do. And I really wanted to get out there. What are other people doing? What are these other opportunities? You know, when you go to different countries, you see a lot of different ways of living. And that really opened my mind and allowed me to come up with the board club. So essentially what happened, I was surfing this one break, had the wrong board. And I was looking around, you know, I was okay, I need to get a different board for the spot. And I either had to go buy one or rent, you know, some, you know, old board, you know, like soft top that wasn't going to work. So had that light bulb moment. It was just like, well, wow, what if I bought a whole bunch of boards and people paid for access to use them? And so it really was like that, me living in a van, surfing down by the coast, and had that light bulb moment that started something that I've been doing for 3.5 years.
Wow. What was the... Actually, I'm curious about the van part. Like, what was it like living in a van for 6 months?
Oh, I love it. It's so free. You know, there's obviously some things that are difficult, you know, but
showers?
Yeah, showers and, you know, like, you know, yeah, there's things that are difficult. But at the same time, like that sense of freedom was incredible. You know, you can go anywhere, do anything. Obviously, it's a little easier on your expenses, especially when you're traveling. So I loved it. I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Where did you go? Australia, you said?
Yeah, Australia. Basically, surfing everywhere from, like, you know, Torquay down by Bells Beach all the way up to Gold Coast, and kind of surfing everywhere in between.
I'm just curious, if you had to do the van trip again and you could go to another place, where would it be?
New Zealand.
I hear New Zealand is like the place.
Yeah, I did a 3-month lifeguard exchange there and absolutely loved it. That was maybe the best 3 months of my life. That was nicest people, beautiful. Amazing surf. There's people from all over the world, so you're constantly meeting new interesting people.
Wasn't Lord of the Rings taped there?
Yeah, it was.
I love it more. All right, cool. Let's talk about board clubs. So you launched the board club, and tell us about the first 6 months or few months launching it.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, that's just where you put your head down and go. I mean, I was the first 3 months I was open every single day, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I was pretty, I had some friends that would come in and help me, but I was pretty much there all day, every day. It was one of those things where I look at board club, and maybe back up 2 seconds.
Of course.
So the board club, I call it a surf club with boards. So essentially the idea is say, hey, surf culture here in California and really the U.S., it's very fragmented. It's like I've got my little group of friends, and if I don't know you're in the water, you're getting a stink eye. Well, when I was in Australia, you go to these surf clubs, and every beach town is very communal. Everyone's getting together for barbecues, and a lot of lineups were friendlier. There's a lot of things where I noticed that we didn't have that culture. So I was like, okay, I've got this board exchange concept where I've got a whole bunch of boards, people pay for access to use them, but what's also really needed back home here is, hey, we need more surf community, surf culture. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that basically Australian surf club model of community and combining it with this board exchange, and that's board club.
Wow. So rad. Okay. And besides grinding, what else could you share from the early days? Because I share that because our show has various people. It doesn't matter what kind of entrepreneur. I mean, you just met someone who's a action sports extraordinaire who's building something for kids in AR, VR. We've had, even filmmakers are entrepreneurs like Tim, and we've had product entrepreneurs. You are in the retail side. I mean, among other things, you're in the retail side. Like, what was it like building a retail business where it's like foot traffic, and what was it like?
Yeah, very different. I selling B2B software is about as opposite as Joe Blow walking in off the street, And
yeah.
Actually, one of the biggest things, and it's, for anyone that's already in this industry is probably going to chuckle at me, but I was blown away at how difficult it is to get in front of people. Like in terms of marketing and just getting word out, right? For a long time, I would still, even a year or two after, there'd be people who'd surfed in Newport for a long time that hadn't heard of Board Club. I'm just like, I'm putting flyers everywhere, Instagram, I host all different events for all kinds of groups and people throughout the city, and I thought I was doing everything to get it out, and it just shows how much work goes into marketing and getting the word out for what you do.
So when was the moment in your initial year or two that things started to click, it started to get better? Where you're grinding, you're always grinding, but you're like, whoa, I think I kind of found something that works.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it was fairly quick in the sense that, we had a wait list on my opening night.
Nice.
That was good. So the initial 3 months went as well as I could have possibly hoped. It's the growth after that, when you get that push where it's a grind, because, I'm getting the OC Register and LA Times and Inertia, you're getting all this publication, you're the new hot thing on the block.
Yeah.
And then once that fades, and then the real grind of the marketing stuff comes in. And it's always a challenge. Now I've kind of figured out what works and what doesn't.
Okay.
I realized I was putting a lot of effort into things that weren't working as well. But once you kind of figure out what that is, you run with it.
What is working? I think I have an idea because we talked already about some of these key events, but what do you feel is working?
So one thing is, when you start something, you've got a very idealistic idea of what that's going to be. I've got this in my head, you write this business plan, I open the doors, and I know what it's going to be. Well, you got to adapt. I realized the target market I was looking at, there's a whole new segment that I realized that really benefits. And I'll be honest, that's the kind of average to below average. It's the guys that haven't been surfing their whole life. They're not core Newport surfers. It's the guys who go, hey, you know what? I've always wanted to surf. Maybe I've had a few lessons in the past. I want to take it serious. I realize I help those people a lot because the board club gives you access to all the different boards. So you're not buying and selling them all the time or just struggling with the same one because you don't want to go through that. Then on top of that, you're going to meet a whole bunch of other new surfers, people in the same boat as you that are also trying to get better, want people to go surf with. So the great networking, and then on top of it, we've got hot water showers and all the amenities at the club, as well as just hey, we're there to tell you how to put your fins in. What side of the board do you wax? How does priority work? How do I do swell forecasting so I can figure out how to get the best waves when there aren't many people around?
Okay. How did you get involved in surfing as a kid? Just from being a lifeguard, growing up out here?
Yeah, I've always, my dad took me to the beach when I was a little kid. We go body surf, so I've been in the water catching waves my whole life, but. Yeah, it was a family friend of mine, Matt Bissell. His whole family was into it, and I just jumped in the car anytime I could. And Yeah, I was about probably 8 or 9 when I first started, and
Okay.
was hooked. I mean, ever since then, like, I'm a competitive water polo player at UCLA, and I've done, I've gone to all these professions, and I've done all these different things. But the underlying passion, my whole life, what's been driving me is surfing. I mean,
Okay.
if I get the time and money to travel, I'm going surfing. Like, I'll be honest, I've never been to New York City, which is a lot of people laugh about that, but it's like, when I have that money, like, I want to go to Peru, I want to go to Ecuador, I want to go to Fiji. Like, you see another culture, you go check out amazing waves, and I mean, that's the center point of kind of anytime.
Do you find it spiritual?
Oh, 100%. That's one beautiful thing about surfing. You're literally in nature, right?
Yeah.
And especially if you can get yourself up at 5 a.m., you get down to the beach at 5:30, right when the sun's coming up. It's dead quiet. There's hardly anyone around.
Yep.
You see the sun coming up. Some dolphins go by. Pelicans fly by. I mean, you're unhuman if you're not having a moment.
Dude, that's so rad. I love it, man. Let's talk about the industry as a whole. I mean, were you at the Newport Beach Film Festival premiere, that one surf doc?
For Tim's or
No,
which
the other one. The action sports guy. I'm totally slipping on his name. You know what I'm talking about?
There's a couple. There's a bunch of. There is a few of them.
Okay.
There was the big wave one. I don't know.
The Big Wave, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about the industry from that, and I feel like it's evolved and same in its changed. Like, how do you feel the culture in the industry has been since from when you were like 8 years old to where you are now?
Yeah, it's funny, like I was going back to what I was saying, like I've never worked in the surf industry and like I've done all these other things. So me coming into it's a good old boys club kind of in the industry,
Yeah.
like if you're at O'Neill or Hurry or Billabong, a lot of these guys just kind of move around, and so I'm a little bit of an outsider coming into that. But yeah, with surf culture now, it's shifting. Like look what's happening with wave pools. Like we're gonna have like someone who fully identifies and is a surfer that lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Like that's happening. And so now like everything's more accessible. So it's so much easier for people nowadays versus 10 or 20 years ago to get access to it. Costco, it's the number one selling board in the world is a Wave Storm of all time. And it's sold at Costco. Anyone can go get one. And anyone can go get a wetsuit at a garage sale. And maybe you can try to start surfing for probably $150, And,
Wow.
and it's like, nowadays, like there's just so much more information out there. And what's really changing is it's going from this, Spicoli, rolling out of a van kind of deal, or your hardcore punk rock surfer. I mean, that's what people think of it as. My members are CEOs. I have aerospace engineers. There's ER doctors. There's mortgage brokers. There's like, it's totally different. The idea of who a surfer is totally changing, and it's going even more in that direction.
Okay. What about you? How have you interpreted surfing since you launched the board club and you've interacted with novices who are like, hey, these aren't the kind of people I roll with or I surf with, like that clique, because you talked about the clique.
Yep. Yeah, and that's that is a funny piece of it. Like going back to what I was saying, I had this vision for what I thought and wanted Board Club to be.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, if you're rigid to what you want your business to be, it's not going to work. Like at the end of the day, it's like you have a general idea, and you got to notice where it's going towards. Like, what is it evolving into? And one of the big things for me was it is a lot more of the beginners. Like it's people anywhere from your kind of intermediate to below average to people just starting. I mean, that's the core of it, and those are the ones who benefit the most from Board Club.
Okay. Have you seen a situation where someone was literally to never grow up by a beach? They moved here, transplant. You know that term, transplant? They might have got a job, or they might have just said, I want to live by the ocean, or maybe I live in the suburbs and I come to Newport Beach to surf. Anyone like that, and they actually became a good surfer?
I know what you're getting at, good surfer. I'm going to define that in a different way than you're probably saying it. So good surfer, you think like someone who can get up, pump down line, do a big air or a turn, or whatever.
Yep.
I look at it, you're a good surfer, and it is a cliche. The best surfer is the one having the most fun.
Yes.
Like, it's been said to death, but there's so much truth in it. All that matters is the feeling you get out of it. If you drop into a 10-foot barrel and get spat out, and that feeling is unbelievable. But if you're a beginner and you make a good bottom turn and go down the line and get some speed for the first time, it's the same feeling.
Right.
And that is what good surfing is.
Nice.
So whatever it is, that moment, each progression, like each time you get that stoke, like that is what my definition of good surfing is.
Nice. I love that. We talked offline, but I have a passion. The way you talk about surfing is the way I talk about skiing. So for me as a skier, like I've skied my whole life. I've had the most injuries. I mean, I've had my near-death experience of skiing, and I tell people who want to learn how to ski, it's like, don't worry about how good you go down slopes. Just focus on the ride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I can relate to you in that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Nice. Let's talk about your routine, because you're kind of a savage with your water stuff. I mean, you do this like aquatic rugby thing. Like, what do you do to stay like in good shape? I mean, you're mid-age. I mean, you're under 40, but you're still like, you know what I mean? You still are like competitive, and you're still able to get into it. Like, what habits have you been doing throughout these years to keep you in shape?
Yeah, the big one for me is I've always liked bigger waves of consequence, and I'm now at that point where I want to take it to the next level. So one of the biggest things is if you want to surf bigger waves, you need to be able to hold your breath a long time, right? If something happens, two-way hold down, whatever it is, I need the confidence to be able to know that I'm gonna be able to be all right. So I just started with these guys. It's called Deep End Fitness, and they are involved with this thing called the Underwater Torpedo League. It's unbelievable. You get a bunch of these Marines, like I think it came out of a military game that I guess like Navy SEALs used to play, or Marines or whatever it was, and they've organized this thing. So basically there's two goals at the bottom of the pool. There's an underwater torpedo, like the one that kids play with the community swim pool or whatever.
Cool.
And you get 5 dudes, and it's 5-on-5 who can score a goal, and it's all out. The rules are, no submission holds and no choking anyone out. Like it's full on underwater.
What is this,
rugby.
UFC?
Yeah, I mean, and it's super physical. It's intense, but it's training your body to operate with lower oxygen. It's keeping your mind still, like at times when you don't need to be intense, because you're going back and forth. When you've got that thing, you've got 5 guys chasing you, trying to grab it and rip it from you and kick you and whatever. But if your teammate has it, you're going to have to go underwater here pretty soon. So it's, hey, get your mind slow, breathe slowly, like you're about to go underwater and do it. So it's a constant back and forth between intensity and slowing yourself down.
How do you work on your breath? Like, what do you do?
So one of the things I just downloaded was, it's called Stamina. It's an app. There's a whole bunch of them out there. But you can do these, they're called like breathing tables. There's O2 tables and CO2 tables. So one of the things that a lot of people don't know is if you were to hold your breath right now, after a short amount of time, right, you're going to feel that urge to breathe. That urge to breathe is not a lack of oxygen. It's a buildup of CO2.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do is these tables will help train your body to fight through that better, right? So you do the O2 tables to train your body to operate with less oxygen, and then you do the CO2 ones, right, to help your body, fight through that urge to come up.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so that's been good, and I'll do that like most nights. You sit home and you could set it to like 10 minutes. You can customize it so it's 30 minutes, an hour. It's totally up to you what you got time for and what you're comfortable doing.
Do you meditate by chance, or do a version of meditation in your opinion?
Oh, totally. Like being an entrepreneur, you get stressed out, right? Like it happens, right? And so I have these moments all the time where, I'm already feeling like there's way more than I can possibly get done. You get one more email of something you're supposed to do, and then you get this like, a ton of anxiety. It's like I can't get this all done, and you feel overwhelmed. And then as soon as I feel that, I always force myself to kind of just stop, like take a deep breath, and then I run through some little breathing techniques. It's only just a couple minutes, but it fully recenters myself. I look at, okay, what's important? You're freaking out because you've got all this stuff. Well, now take a look at it. What's absolutely vital? What can you get done? And then work hard on that, and that feels good. So then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, at least I got all that stuff done.
Yeah.
But it's just recognizing that stressful moment when you're getting anxiety. Stop yourself. Pull back, run through some breathing techniques. There's all different kinds you can do, and you'll recenter. You'll feel a lot better in 5 minutes later.
So one thing I talked about before I brought you on is I talked about how burnout is becoming more and more apparent. Doesn't matter what job you have, B2B, owning board club, radio shows, what does it matter? Like there's burnout. Have you recognized or been self-aware to see that sometimes you get a burnout feeling in what you do?
Oh, fully. And I'll be honest, I haven't had the tools to deal with it until recently. Like I'm a lululemon ambassador now, and a lot of what they do is mindfulness and breathing, and that's kind of shed some light into some things that I can do to improve that. But when I started, that first year, like it hit me all the time, and I didn't have tools to deal with that, and it's intense.
What are some things they taught you? You can share.
I mean, a lot of it, like, so there's a lot of like coursework stuff we'll do. In terms of one thing I end up doing is journal writing. Like something like that just puts it in perspective. I look at like what I've done, what you've done. Like I realize what a lot of the anxiety I get, it just comes from there's just so much floating out there. Like I'm responsible for so many things, and it's like keeping track of it. So when I just like put down what I'm doing, there's something very relaxing for me about it. Helps me remember stuff. I go back. So journal writing, it's something that like in most of the things that we do with them, you're constantly like writing down kind of what you're thinking, what you're going through, and that process of like putting it on paper is very meditative for me, and it's helps me pull back and remember what's important.
Cool. Well, before we get off the show, first I want to thank you again for what you're doing. We're going to collab on an event later in September, and we'll talk about that as that nears in a future episode. But if people want to connect with you, this is your time to talk about your site, your social, whatever.
Yeah, check it out. You just Instagram, it's the Board Club. You can search for it there. Otherwise, go to our website. It's newportboardclub.com.
Okay. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this insane double session. One guy, I can't get over that base jumping thing. I mean, that's just awesome.
It's
and
crazy. That guy's nuts.
And then your story, a community entrepreneur who's really doing a lot for the community. Actually, wait, before I go, we were making the joke offline, but you're doing a cool environmental event this week.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, for anyone interested. So, it's when you're a surfer, there's a famous quote by Kelly Slater. When you're a surfer, you're almost obligated to be an environmentalist. And for me, it's like as I've got, Anyway, so Thursday, what we're doing is it's Businesses United Against Offshore Drilling. So the idea is I want to get all the local businesses where, Newport Beach, it's a tourist destination. If people don't want to go to the beach, if the oceans aren't clean, that's bad for everybody. So it's one of these deals we're going to get together. We got Harley Ruda coming. We've got people from Surf Rider. It's going to be a big event. And it's Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Board Club on 31st Street in Newport. Anyone's welcome to come. And it's a great way. It's really two things. It's just network with other locals in the area that are business owners or around the business world, and then learning about what's the status. Is it going to happen? Where are we at? And it's just a great way where if things get really serious, we're already united and we've got a bunch of people that are on the same page and can do stuff to help fight that.
Rad. Well, thanks again, brother.
Yeah, great being here.
So we are going to end the show, but before I do, make sure to check out the station. Like I always say, it's a 24/7 endeavor. This is something that's done every day of the year. I love that phrase. Literally on Christmas Day, there's something on, whether it's live or recorded, it doesn't matter. Even on New Year's Eve, there's always something. Check it out at KUCIFM on Instagram, at KUCIFM on Twitter. Those who see my live, I have to read this list because there's so many awesome handles. KUCI88.9 on Facebook. If you want to reach me, ASHKUMRA at KUCI.org, or hit me up on Instagram, ASHKUMRA. Same on Facebook, same on LinkedIn. I'm going to end the show, but everyone have a great weekend, and I look forward to connecting with you next week. Bye.
More alien music.